Hello, I'm Kyle. Now, in the past, I've made written run-throughs of my top 100 games about every other year. But this year, I decided to do something special, and I'm recording really my first board gamey video. I mean, I guess I've tried a few in the past, but I'm going to tell you about my top 100 games of 2017. I have the list right here. I'm sure there's a bunch of real surprise about what my number one's going to be, but we're not going to start with number one. We're going to start with number 100. My number 100 game is Cthulhu Wars. Now, many people have heard of Cthulhu Wars. It sort of has made the rounds. It has the reputation for being very expensive and having large, enormous models that are pretty much impossible to store. And that's why it maybe clocks in a little lower than a game that's as much fun as Cthulhu Wars otherwise would. It's a great game with special powers and abilities and different ways to win, and I really enjoy it every time I get it to the table. There are also lots of expansions, but I don't have any because they're way too expensive. But still, Cthulhu Wars is my number 100. My number 99, let me put this down here. My number 99 is a much smaller game, Cry Havoc. Cry Havoc from Portal Games. It came out at Gen Con last year, and it was an immediate success. The game is just a lot of fun. You've got different factions, special abilities, and you're vying for control in this underground cavern. I always enjoy playing it with whatever faction I play with, and I've found that it works well with 2, 3, or 4 players. There's an expansion that came out at Essen this year, but I haven't played it yet, so I'm excited to try it out, and who knows, maybe that'll make it climb a little bit on my list for the next time. But for now, number 99, Cry Havoc. My number 98 is not a new game at all. This game is called In the Shadow of the Emperor, and sometimes I think I'm the only person in the world who likes this game. But it's a great little game simulating the election of new emperors in the old Holy Roman Empire. And you will put your people into strategic political marriages, and then they'll get a little bit older, and sometimes you'll poison somebody so that he'll die at just the right time. There's a lot of intrigue, and if you end up being the emperor, you've got all kinds of special abilities. It's a great game that I wish I got to play more. Number 98, In the Shadow of the Emperor. Number 97 is another small game. Conan. Now, Conan has gotten a bit of a reputation for some of its, shall we say, scantily clad women, but the game itself is a lot of fun. You take the role of Conan and his friends, and another player takes the role of an army of various bad guys. There are several scenarios in the box. There are several expansions. The rule book for this game is absolutely awful. In fact, it's one of the worst rule books that you'll ever come across, but the game itself is just so fascinating. I almost always play as the forces of evil because I love the stress of trying to control your bad guys and trying to spend your very limited resources. And I remember a game I played, for example, where there were all these pirates and they surrounded Conan and they were just going at him, and then he would swing his axe and kill everybody because the good guys in this are pretty strong. But I find it's just a fabulous game to play, and I love to play it. It's Conan, and that is my number 97. My number 96 is an older game, and it's the first game we'll see from acclaimed designer Uwe Rosenberg. This game is At the Gates of Loyang. Now, At the Gates of Loyang has a very interesting scoring mechanism where you have to spend a lot of money to advance on the scoring track, and the more spaces you advance each round, the more it costs you. You've got these little plots of land, and you're planting turnips and radishes and grain and pumpkins, and you're harvesting them, and you've got special abilities you're working through. The game really works well with 2 players. It works well with 3 players, but with 4 players, it's a little bit wonky. You've got this weird cross back and forthness that you're going through, and I don't really like it with 4, but with 2 or 3, At the Gates of Loyang is really a strong game. I really like it. That is my, number 96. You see, I'm really good at numbers. My number 95 is another older game, and this is a game that I wish I played a lot more. This game is Cyclades. Now, I like Cyclades a lot as the base game, but I love it. It really shines once you add in some of its expansions. The Titans expansion, the Hades expansion that nobody likes except me, the Monuments, and you've got this interesting auction mechanism where you're bidding for the use of various gods, and you're trying to build cities on these islands, and you're trying to upgrade them to certain bigger cities, and there's a weird kind of a score, sort of, the game kind of ends suddenly, which is maybe what I like a little bit less about it, but there's so many fun monsters and special abilities, and there's just a lot of fun to be had in Cyclades, my number 95. My number 94 is the younger brother of Cyclades, which I like only slightly more, and this is Kemet. Kemet is part of essentially the same world as Cyclades, but in this game you're just going for each other's throat and attacking each other. There is battle and blood being spilled from turn one. There's an interesting technology tree, and there's a lot of fun monsters that you can get that will really enhance your army. And the best news is both of these games completely compatible. You can use the monsters from one game in the other, and the reverse. There's a nice little strange cross-pollination expansion, and I love to use that whenever I can. My number 94, Kemet, is a game that I wish I could play a little bit more. My number 93 is an older game, and I had the old copy for a while, but I recently gave it away because, of course, there's a nice fancy new version, and that is Mission Red Planet. Mission Red Planet is a little action selection game. It's super fast. It's got some nice area control. It's a little bit nasty at points, and you've got secret discoveries and special powers that you're trying to use on your different cards as you're selecting the roles, and you're trying to colonize Mars. The new version has an amazingly, just a significant upgrade from the prior version, because instead of these tiny little Microsoft discs that you had to push around with a pair of tweezers, in this game you've got nice little plastic astronauts, and the game is smooth and it's fast and it works well with really any number of players. There's really no downtime. I really enjoy Mission Red Planet. My number 92 is a newer game. I actually kept my Polish box originally, but for this video I'm keeping the US version, which is Mysterium. Mysterium is almost a party game. You've got one player who's a ghost, who's died under mysterious circumstances, and the other players are psychics, and the ghost is trying to communicate with these other players through dreams. He plays some weird artistic cards trying to indicate sort of, your standard murder mystery tropes, who did it, and where, and with what. But most of the game is communication, because the ghost can't say a thing. He's just sitting there agonizing after somebody convinces someone that the perfect clue you gave them is leading them the wrong place. But it is a lot of fun. I've played it a whole lot, especially right when it came out. This new version is better. It has some wonky scoring that I don't like, but it comes with a nice, great big board that you can hide your pieces behind if you're the ghost, and being the ghost is super stressful, but it's a lot of fun. Mysterium, my number 92. And the last one for this first video, my number 91, is Abyss. Now, I like Abyss with its expansion. Abyss was an interesting game because it came out with like 5 different box covers, but this is just a gorgeous game. It has beautiful artwork, and it's a clever game of some bidding and some sort of buying of these lords with special abilities, and as you get these lords, you've got these great special abilities, but eventually, when you get a certain number of them, they score, and then they're worth points, but they're not worth, you get a scoring tile, but you can't use their ability anymore. And there's this odd auction mechanism where you're sort of almost a push your luck type of thing, where you flip over a card, and then everybody else in turn order has a chance to buy it from you before you finally get what you want. And there's some agonizing moments where you have to let something go and then end up with like a starfish value of 1. The scoring's a little bit tough to get your head around for your first time, but the gameplay is super simple, super clean. The expansion adds a lot. It adds some corruption, and I always like corruption in a game. But it's a gorgeous game, fast playing, works really well with any of the player counts. My number 91, and the last one for this video, Abyss. And that's it. We're going to go through and make another 9 of these videos as we work our way to the top. But these are just some great games, and I didn't really look at my list from last time. I just went off of what I was feeling from these games, and I love every game that's on this list. So I hope you'll tune in next time when we go over the next 10 games in my top 100 game list. Bye!